right? Nice get for you guys.
Oh, he's a really, really good player. Big, long, athletic, and his offensive line coach did a terrific job with him. They won the state title, and we watched him play. A bunch of our staff, we were up at the game and watched him play, and we're lucky to have him. I think he's a really good pass protector, excellent feet, and good student, and really good kid, and he's already enrolled and doing a good job.
It's amazing, Art, how I've seen offensive linemen, and probably over the last 10 or 15 years, we start using the word athlete when we talk about them. That never used to be said, right? I mean, from day one of football until probably the last 10 or 15 years, it was an offensive lineman, and that was the end of the conversation. But they've become so more athletic. They're so versatile now, getting great coaching out of high school, especially a guy like Eric. And as you mentioned, it used to be a lot of high school football players at that position didn't even know how to pass block.
Exactly, and that to me, you know, even in just the last 5 years, you know, since I came back with Coach Golden, looking at all the film, there's so many players now that have had the benefit of being able to go to these camps and pick up techniques from coaches all over the country, and then they're putting it on film, and the high school coaches, especially in offensive and defensive line play, have gotten so much better because you know, it just filters down to them, and he's a perfect example. Eric made a massive jump between his junior and senior year on film, and if you look at his film as a junior, even in the spring, and then versus you know where we saw him in the fall, he's finishing better, he's chasing guys, he's lowering the boom on guys, he's really playing good football.
By the way, you're going to want to stay with us because I see they're running in with about 5 or 6 more commitments. So this will be, we'll have all that information for you here in 1 second. Art Kehoe is with us, Taylor Gabwa, guy that you guys recruited a year ago, and he's massive. He's a big guy.
Yeah, he's 6, maybe 8, and you know, I don't know, they're all taller than I am, I can tell you that, but they're you know, big hands, big feet. He's from East Spalding High School outside of Atlanta, and then he went to Fork Union, and they do a great job with those guys at Fork Union, and this guy is he's a little gnarly. That's kind of how they play it up there. And I remember the first time I got on the phone with him last year when I got hired. First time I got on the phone with him, he said, I said, well, what's it like? Tell me a little bit about your high school coach and your program. He says, Coach, basically what we do is lift weights, run, and block. And he said, we're tough as heck, and their team went to deep into the playoffs and did a great job. And that's what he's like. So those two guys are both here at the midterm, and you know, Eric and Taylor, and we expect great things out of them. They're smart, they're well coached, and they got a lot of ability.
Coach, when you look at what's happened in college football, especially for the offensive line position, but really overall, if you have a young man that went to prep school, then he comes in early, what an advantage he has, especially on the offensive line. I mean, he went through high school season, got trained again in prep school, disciplined in prep school, comes in, goes through classes, goes through youth strong, goes through spring practice. If you're trying to play as a true freshman, especially on the line of scrimmage, that's a formula for success.
Well, there's no doubt, and actually, you're no longer a true freshman to me. I mean, even though they'll be listed as true freshmen, they'll be different than those other guys because they'll be broken in. They'll have gone through all the, you know, like you said, the early morning workouts, the U-Tough days, the summer conditioning, everything that Coach Golden implements. And so when they get here for 2 days, I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. It's never easy. It's tough, but it's certainly a lot easier than the guy that's here for the first time. Because you and me went through that. And you know how hard it is. It's hard to do that.
But also the academics. You know, just getting up and going to class into that routine, it's going to make it easier for them when the fall comes.
Exactly, and they've already taken summer school classes, spring classes, gone through the tutoring system and the study hall hours, and they understand. The biggest thing is, you know, what Coach Golden's trying to implement here. Now they're into it. They're not getting adapted to it. They are already into it, and they're doing a good job of it.
All right, so I have the next player in my hand, and we can bat that one around a little bit. But this is really a nice player for you guys. You go into Palm Beach Central High School. Angelo Louie, wide receiver, number 10 prospect. in the state of Florida. So this was a good win, Don Bailey Jr., and Art, you can chip in on this one, but this is a nice player.
Yeah, I went up and actually saw him play in person, and he is a really dynamic guy on both sides. He can cover and run routes, and he does a great job on kickoff returns and punt returns. And he's he's big too. He's a good 6'1", maybe 190 pounds, and he looks like he could do a lot. And the game I was at, he affected the game on both sides of the ball and in the special team. So I think he's kind of a dynamic guy.
Coach, when you talk about affecting a football game, that's a pretty bold statement, because a lot of guys you go look at, they do well at their position or they do well in that scheme. But when you go and you watch a football player and he affects everything, special teams, returns, offense, defense, then you know you have a special cat.
Exactly. He's not leaving the field. Very, very often he's on the field, and he's always involved because he can cover and run routes and catch the ball, and he can move like a Willie Mays kind of guy and catch punts that are bad. Or oftentimes in high school football, you see punts that are on the sidelines, and he's fielding them, and he's getting up the field, and he's making a great play out of nothing and changing. I remember the game I was at. He was definitely changing the outcome of the game. They won in a tight game, and he made a half a dozen plays that were really good in the game. So.
The other thing I like, one of the intangibles that I like, is where you get some of these kids from. Is that then, he played in a tough environment where they play hard-nosed football, much like we mentioned Herb Waters down south, and you get into some of those little high school stadiums, and it means everything in those towns. So when they get here, the hope is that the stage is not too big.
Exactly. That's a good point. And that's why they call it recruiting right there.
Yeah, you recruit that, right?
Yes.
You got to recruit to that.
Exactly.
All right, so we have our next player that has come in, and that is Jontavious Carter. And again, another terrific player, another wide receiver. So you're stacking them up now. And you got him at every size. I mean, you got 6'1", and he comes in at 6'4".
Yes, Jontavious is, yes, an extra large receiver, yes. And kind of reminds you of Fortson. Maybe not that tall, but a little bit bigger as far as his build is concerned. Maybe a little stronger, and he can muscle up and get those balls in traffic. He's a guy who can sit down, throw him the ball, and maybe make nothing play into something. He's also a guy that can run a comeback or a curl, and he's going to be able to be a big target. So wherever the ball goes, he has very nice hands. And we had him in camp, and he was good too. So he's another guy that just brings a lot to the table as a wide receiver.
You bring up at camp, I believe he's one of your MVPs at camp. And Art, let's spend a minute on the camp. I think that so much is being praised on this staff at the University of Miami and Coach Golden on what a phenomenal job that it looks like everybody's going to do recruiting this year. But a lot of what you learn about these players comes from the camp. I mean, you see them perform right here against competition, because these camps have been full. There's hundreds of kids at each one of these sessions, and it's made a big difference in the evaluation.
There's no doubt, and Coach Golden, when we get up early in the morning and stay till 9 o'clock at night on a camp day, and it's just relentless from start to finish, and you leave I remember leaving those camp days going, whoa, just taking a deep breath and going, that we worked hard, and you tried to get to know as many kids as you can, and not just the juniors and seniors, but the younger kids that are going to be in your computer, and we're going to start to make relationships with them early and give them campus tours, and because this university, there's so much to show a guy that may think he knows a lot about the University of Miami until you get here and you get a chance to go around the campus and meet people and meet the coaching staff and actually get coached by the coaching staff. So you're building bonds, and you're trying to get that done.
All right, next player that's come in, and I've watched him for the last 2 years, and you talk about affecting the game. When he played, and they played against some great competition, he was a dominating force for St. Thomas High School, and this could be a great topic for us to go over a little bit for a while, not only because of the high school, but the caliber of player. He was an early commit, stayed with the University of Miami. I think a lot of people tried to rattle his cage a little bit, never really swayed Galani Hamilton has put his name on. Big defensive end. We talked about McCord earlier with Chicolo, and boy, that defensive end position is starting to look pretty nice. Good luck to you in practice.
Yeah, well, I like that. But I like having fierce battles in practice because that means the other guys, when we finally get to their sidelines, they're going to have problems with them too. But Galani, we were at his house the other day and with Coach Golden, and great family. Mom and dad, he's got two sisters that are over 6 foot, and they're excellent basketball players, and so there's a lot of athleticism in that family. They're good students, and he's a good student, and just like you said, he's an impact guy. If you watch his highlight film, he really takes on blockers and sheds them well. His D-line coach worked with us in our camp and does a great job, and has a lot of good players. There's always a lot of good players at St. Thomas, and he's one of them.
I remember, Joe, it being at St. Thomas game when Hamilton was a junior. And
You and I were up there at the state semifinal game.
That's exactly right. And I think it took
Against
me
Great Bradenton.
It took me three plays to say, we need to sign him
We
up
need
in
that
the
guy.
right now.
Exactly.
Right now, forget everything else. And
He's a big dude too,
Oh, yeah.
really
Moves
big
well.
guy. Yes.
That's a good get for you guys also, because at St. Thomas High School, we know that they produce a lot of really good players.
They're the best. They're great people, and they've been good to us for years.
All right. Well, thank you for stopping by. We appreciate it. We know you're busy this
My
day.
pleasure, fellas.
All right.
Take
It's
care.
offensive line coach Art Kehoe joining us.